signed, put on the field, and then cut.
Dang.
But, they're not going to have Jayon Brown. And all of a sudden David Long has become really important in this defense. But, who's going to get to the quarterback? That is the biggest question. And Harold Landry, who I think has actually had a good year.
I agree.
If Harold Landry finally gets, the Bud Dupree that they expected to sign, then this could be kind of an interesting defense. And I think that's the way the Titans are looking at it. They're just hoping to tread water until Dupree gets back. So I don't think anybody's losing their jobs. I don't think there's been any, real malpractice here, except that you have to, play Dane Cruikshank at safety. I'm shocked that they're not better at that position. But with all that aside, Jack Rabbit Jenkins was supposed to be a stopgap. And Caleb,
he's been in a allow gap because he's allowing them to run down the field.
Listen, I know. It's his name and his production have become oxymoronic. It's like a fat guy being called slim. It's it is. He's not what you think he is. But they're waiting again. They're treading water. Mm-hmm. Until Caleb Farley is ready, and then they'll put him in there. But, who knows when that's going to happen. But, all that aside, I think, injuries, like a lot of teams, have compromised them. And they're just going to have to – Shane Bowen's going to have to figure it out.
I just think this is just my opinion. I think we need a dog in the secondary. And one of the guys that I think that the Tennessee Titans are sorely missing is a guy like Butler. I know everybody was expecting Jack Rabbit Jenkins to come in there and be like a Butler. But in just my opinion, I don't think he has the dog in him like Butler did. Butler would fight and do everything he did to try to get an interception. And then on another thing, we got to make sure that we contain Lawrence. Lawrence is a guy who's competing 55% of his passes, 873 yards. Here's the key, and 7 interceptions. That's exactly what Zach Williams had, and he had a big game against us. So we got to definitely put pressure on Lawrence. Don't let him get loosened, and make sure he doesn't get outside the pocket and have those big runs.
Well, I also think, too, that this is one of those schematic days.
Yeah.
Where Bowen is going to try to confuse Lawrence a little bit and show him a lot of window dressing and then do something else. This is a day.
Shane Bowen good enough to do that?
Yes. You act like Shane Bowen can't walk and chew gum.
I have yet to see Shane Bowen walk and chew gum at the NFL level as a coordinator.
I think that.
I know you guys think I'm crazy. I'd fire Shane Bowen if they lose today.
Yeah.
If they lose and the defense is a mess,
who's going to be defense coordinator then?
Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, but the scheme of the defense is going to stay exactly the same. You ain't going to change too much.
Well, but different coaches. Yeah. Coaches can coach more than one scheme.
Right. And I know the Titans won't do it. And I know Vrabel won't do it. I'm just saying I would do it if they lose today.
I don't think Schwartzy would do it, but that's a whole other thing. That's not what he signed up for. But beyond that, this is a day where you try to outwit the rookie quarterback, and we'll see if they're able to do it. Lawrence, I think, is going to be a really good quarterback in this league. I just think he's going through his struggles now, and he's very resilient and very optimistic. And you see him with the media. He's upbeat and. He's willing to learn from his mistakes, and we'll see what happens. But, this is going to be a day where the Titans, I think, are going to move Harold Landry around. It's going to be kind of a Where's Waldo when it comes to Harold Landry. And the Titans are going to show Lawrence a lot of different looks and try to goad him into a mistake.
Yeah, the only thing I'm concerned about is when they start showing him looks and start blitzing a whole bunch of safeties. Then that leaves you one-on-one with Marvin Jones and Chenault Jr. And that's the scary part because if you looking on the outside and the perimeter, we can't really cover anybody. We don't have the top end speed, and we're trying to quick jam guys at line of scrimmage, and guys are running wide open. So even if we do confuse them and we do blitz safeties and go man-to-man on outside, what if they just throw a fade and have a jump ball? That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
It's a risk you're going to have to take. But Laviska Shenault is not exactly.
He can run now.
Yeah, but he's not a speed guy. He's an excellent receiver, was a terrific player at Colorado, and he's going to have Christian Fulton on him. And it's going to be a big day for Christian Fulton, believe you me. But, we'll see where that ends up.
Caleb Farley should be active and ready to go today. I don't know how much he will play. Would you put Caleb Farley out there? Chris Sanders, they had an injury last week to Chris Jackson, which forced the move of Fulton inside as opposed to putting Molden on the field. They brought Breon Borders in the game. Do you think the Titans can put Caleb Farley on the field?
I mean, he needs to be on the field. I mean, he's your number one draft pick, and he needs to come in here and play and impact the game. Everybody keeps talking about that he's a shutdown corner. He's a guy that understands the game. He understands what to do. He's physical at the line of scrimmage. That's exactly what we need for the Tennessee Titans because we're not getting with Jack Rabbit Jenkins. We're getting with Fulton, but we need a guy that's going to step in there and be a dog and come up with some turnovers. Because if you look at the Tennessee Titans on defense, how many turnovers do the Tennessee Titans have? Last week they had an interception, with Fulton, but any other guy that's stepping up making interceptions, yes, Byard had one, a couple of weeks ago, but there's nobody stepping up making those key turnovers.
Well, the other guy that I'm worried about from the Jacksonville perspective is Dan Arnold, a guy that I really wished the Titans had gone after in the offseason, but that's neither here nor there. Dan Arnold's a dangerous guy. He's a good receiver, and I think he's a guy, a safety valve that Lawrence is going to use, and I think he's got a chance to put up some big numbers today against the Titans.
I just think if the Titans let the Jags move the football all over them, then they got some serious problems. I mean, I was encouraged the first 3 weeks of the defense. Then I saw last week, not as encouraged. And I just kind of feel like this Jacksonville team, the Titans should be able to get pressure on Lawrence. They should turn Lawrence over. They should – and yet there's a part of me that says, well, we felt that way last year, and they didn't do that against anybody. And it has me concerned about today.
Yeah, but also, too, we can't forget about, James Robinson, too. He's not a bad running back.
1,000-yard back.
He's not. He's got 49 carries for 238. So, even though the numbers are not jumping out at you, he's still a guy that can take the ball and hit a home run. So we got to be careful on that end, too.
Coming up on the other side, we'll take a look at who's in, who's out for the Titans. Some big names we already know will be out this upcoming week. Who's in, who's out for Jacksonville, and we'll get Mike Vrabel's key to the game as the Titans get set to take on the Jacksonville Jags. We are live here on the pregame show from the Corner Pub in Bellevue. It's Jared, Chris, and Mark Howard. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The voice of reason.
I just want to go on, get it out there, and we'll move on. This may have been the worst football weekend I've ever experienced in my life.
The voice of the fan.
Taylor and Bud Dupree, I just think both guys have not gotten over the mental part with the knee yet.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing. Social Furniture on the West Side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box store. Shop local, shop social.
It's football season, and Social Furniture has the best lifetime guarantee motion furniture on sale now. Their sofas with recliners are push-button electric and wall-away with all colors to choose from for your comfort. Sectionals from $9.99, recliners from $3.99. Sectionals with Chase Lounge and all-electric recliners from $19.99. Social Furniture will have you football ready with all furniture that are plus leather, microfiber, and there's no waiting, and take home your new motion furniture today or with their same-day fine furniture delivery. Social Furniture has no down payments and no interest. You don't want to miss out on their best lifetime guarantee motion furniture sale going on now.
Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you. Hey, it's Jared Stillman. Guys, are you tired of feeling old? You know that feeling. You don't have any energy. You're gaining pounds. Well, guess what? My friends at Invigorate Health are the ones to help you. They don't just focus on one area of the aging body. They take care of all of it with so many different therapies that can restore your vitality and are designed with you specifically in mind. So give them a try. Invigorate Health, if you want to feel young again. Out in Mount Juliet at 615-288-4777 or invigoratehealthtn.com.
Hey everybody, Robbie Stanley here, and the NFL Week 5 is here, and FanDuel Sportsbook wants you to get the most out of every play. That's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet every week, and all you got to do is bet a same-game parlay bet with 3 legs or more, and if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel will pay you back up to $10. The Titans and the Jags back in action this weekend. Give me over on Derrick Henry's rushing yards, over on Tannehill's passing yards as well. I expect a big response from the Titans, but you take it any way you want to take it. Offers like this are why I love betting on FanDuel Sportsbook. It's America's #1 sportsbook. It's easy to use, safe and secure, and you get your money quickly in as little as 24 hours. So if you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, you can also claim your 30-1 odds on either team to win in the Monday night game between Indianapolis and Baltimore. Just sign up with promo code ROB, and if your first bet loses, you get up to $1,000 back in site credit. Once again, that promo code is ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max refund of $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile and web. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
NFL Pregame is on.
Time now to take a look at who's in, who's out here on the pregame show live from the Corner Pub in Bellevue. Jared Stillman, Mark Howard, Chris Sanders. Time to take a look at our inactives and our keys to the game presented by Hillside Medical Clinic. We start with the inactives for the Jacksonville Jags. Out today, kicker Josh Lambo is inactive. They have added, I believe, Mason Wright is his name from the practice squad. Some kicker. So, we've seen the Titans run some kicker out there for the last 2 years, and we know that's not a good sign. Josh Lambo is out today. Corner Tyson Campbell is inactive. Laurenti McCray is out today. Jordan Smith and Roy Robertson Harris out today for the Jags. So, not a lot of big names there. For the Titans today, inactive. Wide receiver Julio Jones, inactive. Punter Brett Kern is inactive. Outside linebacker Bud Dupree is inactive. Wide receiver Nick Westbrook Akina is inactive today. Mekhi Sargent, the running back, is inactive. Defensive lineman Woodrow Hamilton is inactive. And offensive lineman Ty Sambrilo is out for the Titans as well. Why the chuckle for Mekhi Sargent?
Because that's Rex Rhodes' guy.
No, Westbrook Akina is Rex Rhodes' guy.
He also likes Sargent.
When I saw Sargent running during the preseason, I had memories of DeJuan Hicks and
Skip Hicks. Wow.
Skip Hicks.
Skip Hicks had one great game against the Packers.
Chris Henry.
Those guys made the team because they were good in the preseason, and then you never heard from them again. And Sargent, I think, is probably in the same boat. But
Packers were in nickel the whole game. Skip Hicks ran for like 150 yards.
What do we make of Nick Westbrook Akina out, Josh Reynolds in? That means your wide receiver position today will look like this. A.J. Brown will start at one spot. Josh Reynolds will start at another spot.
Do you like Josh Reynolds?
I do not. Chester Rogers in the slot. And then Marcus Johnson, who has been added to the active roster, will make his debut today as well.
I mean, it ain't really make a difference. Westbrook made a couple of plays. I know a couple of weeks he caught a touchdown, but other than that, he really
fumbled the football at the 6-yard line.
Absolutely, but he just hasn't been a spark. For this Tennessee Titans offense. I know we get A.J. Brown back today, which is going to be huge, but I want to watch and see how, he's going to be the first and second quarter, because that's going to be the telltale of what he's going to do the rest of the game, because I was watching some drills, earlier this season, what he was doing in camp. Everything was short. So I want to see if he has to run a corner or a post to see how that hamstring is going to handle up. So I think they're going to be okay, because this Tennessee Jaguars secondary is okay, but I just want to see how A.J. Brown's going to do.
I don't think Marcus Johnson's going to see the field today. It's kind of odd because after today, Marcus Johnson goes on the practice squad, which lets you know what they think of him.
Is that true?
Yeah. That's his designation, yeah. I think, yeah. I
thought he was just added to the regular active roster.
Well, today he is.
But you're saying they're just going to cut him tomorrow, waive him tomorrow, and then let him go through waivers, and then add him to the practice squad.
Yeah.
I would let Reynolds go, man.
You hate Reynolds.
No, I don't hate him. I mean, I watch. He's just not a number one wide receiver. That's just my opinion, and I'm saying that very respectfully. But
neither is anybody else on the team not named AJ or Julio.
I know, but what I'm saying,
like Chester Rogers is not a number one wide receiver, but he does serve a purpose.
But he has a little bit of explosiveness. Reynolds doesn't have the explosives that I want to see a guy that's on the perimeter. I know they put him in slot when he was with the L.A. Rams, but I want to see some explosive plays. I want to see him, take the top off the defense. We look at last week, when he's supposed to catch that pass and he dropped it. I mean, we need a guy that's going to make a play like that.
I think Chester Rogers has a chance to have a big game today. I think that's a guy who, week in and week out, at least is able to give them some production. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, just what Jacksonville does with A.J. Brown and if he can hang on to the dang ball. That's another problem with A.J. Brown. Good receiver, but skill at hands occasionally.
Why have the Titans been dropping the football so much?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's lack of concentration because you watch them in practice; they're always catching the jugs. I just think that, as being in the
I'm not saying it's lack of concentration. It sure is.
It's just
I mean, whenever you drop the football, was it ever not because of a lack of concentration?
It wasn't just concentration. You got so many things that you're thinking. You're looking at the blitz. You got to know, okay, I got to get the right depth. You got to know, if the quarterback's in trouble. So there's so many variables that are going through. So I'm not making that an excuse for A.J. Brown because some of those passes that were thrown to him, he should have made him. But you just don't know what's going through a receiver's mind. With me, if I drop a pass, I know that I'm thinking about something, or I just flat out dropped it. I don't drop too many, but,
Well, they've dropped enough this year for your entire career times 10, it feels like, as far as the Titans are concerned. John Simon makes his debut on the defensive side of the ball. Really odd cut from the standpoint that they cut him right at the end of training camp. Vrabel then, in a press conference, talks about how much he wants to bring him back. And then it took until October for them to bring him back. He was signed to the practice squad and has already been added to the roster. So he is not an elevation. He is a 53-man roster guy. Their two elevations are Karan Reed, a defensive lineman who's active, and Jamal Carter, a defensive back who's active. I think Simon's going to play some snaps today.
Well, I think Vrabel trusts him. I believe Vrabel coached him at Ohio State.
And Houston.
Yeah. And I love John Simon. He was one of my favorite college players, and was really excited when the Titans got him, and totally puzzled. And again, I don't think it was John Simon. I just think it was a numbers crunch. That forced Vrabel and John Robinson to cut him. But
was it a numbers crunch? I mean, I feel like they were running out of. They had too many roster spots and not enough guys to fill the roster spots at the into training camp.
Well, I think they felt like an outside linebacker. There were other guys they wanted to keep.
Do you think this might be a spark for the defense? You know what I'm saying?
John Simon?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that may be a spark that they need to get this defense going.
If John Simon has to be the spark, then the Titans are in big trouble.
Well, the Titans are in big trouble if they lose this
If
game.
a guy you pull off the street, and insert in the lineup has to be your spark, then you got some problems.
You remember Rod Hood?
Yeah.
So the Titans, 2008, one of the best defenses in the league. Hainsworth leaves. Van den Bosch gets hurt. 2009, DBs are awful, and they get hurt. So I think Finnegan got hurt, and so they're out there with Ryan Mouton and some other guy who stunk. I can't remember the other guy's name. Wow. They were terrible out there. I think it was McCourty.
Marcus Robertson loved Ryan Mouton.
I
personally scouted him. I took him through his workout. He can play. No, he could not play.
I think it was Ryan Mouton and Jason McCourty, I think, were the two corners that were out there.
Wow.
And it was awful.
Wow.
And they signed Rod Hood during the bye week.
Hood.
And Rod Hood was the best defensive back on the Titans that year. And I said to people, I go, this tells me that there are guys on the street who don't have jobs that are better than the guys you have in the secondary right now. And I would say that I don't think Simon's going to come in here and be better than Landry. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to be better than Ola Adeni has been, although where did Ola Adeni go last week? Because I didn't see him out on the field.
But he's been most consistent, though.
He didn't do anything last week.
That's just 1 week, though. I mean, if you look at the Tennessee Titans defense, we're consistently saying his name and Landry's name. So, those guys have been playing top-notch football.
I'm going to take it one further. Jeffrey Simmons. And TD will TD will be on in a little bit, but TD always talks about how Simmons gets double-teamed and the things Simmons does that you don't see. And I was listening to an old Jared the GM podcast, and Floyd was talking about Simmons. And he was talking about the fact that, if you're a good DT, then you can do the things that people don't notice. If you're going to be a great DT, you got to do the things people notice. Mm-hmm. And I am starting to kind of get that way with Simmons, that we were told game wrecker, solid player and game wrecker Albert Hainsworth are two totally different things. And I'm kind of calling on Simmons to show me a little bit of that.
I think that's a fair assessment. I expected, he had a couple of good games, had a great game against Seattle, and because I think Autry has been JR's best offseason signing.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
By a mile. But I thought that he would, help make Simmons a better player, and that hasn't always been the case. And this is another instance today of where Jeffrey Simmons and Autry should have a big game. A.J. Cann, the starting right guard for Seattle, is out injured. They've got Ben Barch in there. I mean, they've got a banged-up interior offensive line, and this is where the Titans should take advantage and blow things up and really make life miserable for Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
TD is going to join us next. So he is in Jacksonville on the field. He avoided the sick out today that apparently they're having at the Jacksonville airport.
They're having a what?
So Paul Kaharski could not fly into Jacksonville because a bunch of Southwest employees at the Jacksonville airport have called out sick today as like they're protesting of the vaccine. So people literally cannot fly into Jacksonville right now.
Wow.
I bet that it wouldn't shock me if those guys get stuck there, the TDs of the world. We'll talk to TD next. He is in Jacksonville. We're at the Corner Pub in Bellevue. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Robbie Stanley.
Maybe it doesn't hurt their bottom line this year. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen on that front.
Joe Rexrode.
5 guys who are on the roster are not going to be on the roster.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10. Presented by Volunteer State Bank on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Creating the finest award-winning tequila means starting with the best ingredients. Camarena Tequila is 250 years in the making from Arandas, Jalisco, Mexico. You see, at Camarena, they wait for their 100% blue Weber agave to reach maturity before harvesting each and every plant by hand. This allows them to consistently produce one of the smoothest and best-tasting tequilas in the world. Experience Camarena Tequila today, available at a fine liquor store near you. Camarena Tequila is the official tequila for the Nashville Soccer Club.
Hey, this is DJ Super Save with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code FULL and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code FULL to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code FULL to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. That's code FULL.
You take steps to stay healthy when at the pharmacy picking up vitamins or filling a prescription.
May I help you?
Take another healthy step right now and ask the pharmacist how Prevnar 13 can help protect you from pneumococcal pneumonia, a potentially serious bacterial lung disease. If you're 65 or older, a trip to the pharmacy is a lot more pleasant than a trip to the hospital because of pneumococcal pneumonia. Help protect yourself with the Prevnar 13 pneumococcal 13-valent conjugate vaccine, diphtheria CRM 197 protein. Prevnar 13 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 13 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Prevnar 13 does not protect against all strains of the disease. Stop by the pharmacy today and ask about Prevnar 13. Learn more at Prevnar13.com. Don't get Prevnar 13 if you have had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with a weakened immune system may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-866-694-9300 or visit Prevnar13.com.
This afternoon,
Prescott over the middle, wide open, Charlotte walking in for the touchdown.
Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys are back on their home turf at Jerry's World to take on the New York Giants.
Jones goes deep, the catch is made, touchdown.
Coverage begins at 2:45
on ESPN
94.9. It's game day for the two-tone blue. In and we're inching closer to kickoff. This is the NFL Pregame with Jared Stillman, forever receiver Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Now, let's get an update from the stadium with ESPN's Teron Davenport, brought to you by Freedom Tire Guys on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And we are about an hour and 15 or so away from kickoff in Jacksonville. It is time to go to Jacksonville and connect with TD. Teron Davenport, ESPN.com, is presented by the Freedom Tire Guys, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at freedomtireguys.com. TD, the Titans are going to have all kinds of injuries that are out for today's game, but A.J. Brown is in. How has he looked so far on the field today?
I think A.J. Brown has looked fine. I came down specifically to watch that, saw him run around a little bit, a little like soft toss, and one of the balls went a little bit further than he thought it would, and he was able to accelerate and go get it. And I think that was really a good indicator. So looks like the hamstring is fine. He took extra time loosening it up and everything. And, hey, man, this offense, as you guys know, really, really missed him last week, and it's a good return for them.
TD, what have you seen? I know that it's only a warm-up, but the offensive line, do they look like they're warming up any differently or anything after what happened last week against the Jets?
No, they're not warming up any differently or anything like that. They came out, Taylor Lewan did his thing, got down in the stance and fired out. Roger Saffold came out and stretched. I mean, they didn't do anything different. Ben Jones did his same walking around the field barefooted, and that's what they do.
We're speaking to Teron Davenport, of course, the Titans beat writer from ESPN.com. And TD, the interior line of Jacksonville is banged up a little bit. A.J. Cann is out. I would imagine if you're Shane Bowen, that's got to be an area where you feel like you can attack with Autry and Simmons and the rest of their interior D-line.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're gonna have, man. And I apologize. Josh Allen came over and told me, I'm looking clean, so I gotta respond to that.
Like Gary Coleman.
Can you refire that question again for me? I'm sorry.
Well, that A.J. Cann is out, the starting right guard for Jacksonville. The interior of their offensive line is a little bit banged up. Barch is going to be one of the replacements. But do you feel like that's an area where the Titans defense can really attack and give Lawrence that interior pressure?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something, with Jeffrey Simmons, and I don't know if you've heard kind of, some of the fans are chirping about Simmons and him not making the plays he needs to make, even though he's absorbing double teams and allowing everyone else to make plays and doing what he's supposed to do within the defense. That's a different story. But I think this is a good week where, he will be able to have some of those impact plays. But as you know, I mean, the plays, when they come to you got to make them. But, like, with him, it's just a different thing as far as what he's asked to do. So that being said, I would imagine, with those guys not used to being out there, I would expect to see those interior gaps get spiked a little bit, and then you'd be able to see, guys like Rashawn Evans, like David Long, blitzing. And don't be surprised if they send some safety blitzes also, because you want to throw everything at a rookie. So I would imagine blitzing those interior gaps would be the way to go.
TD, what's going on, my man? You doing all right?
Oh, yeah,
you
man.
You must got on a purple suit, man. That's why they say you look clean.
Hey, well, I had to hit him with the pink seersucker today, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, that's what's up, man. It's good to hear. But, man, hey, the Tennessee Titans have been 2 of 5 in the red zone efficiency. Man, what do you think the struggles are for the Tennessee Titans getting field goals instead of touchdowns?
Yeah, if you look at that Jets game last week, they had 2 sacks on third down. And then you also had the botched snap, so that definitely didn't help. I think really, and Jared, we talked about this on Thursday, not having Jonnu Smith, like the red zone specialist, I mean, he had 8 touchdowns last year. All of those came in the red zone, so they have to find another person that can be that factor. I do give Todd Downing credit for the play design he did, getting Cam back, free in the flat there, and having Derrick Henry as number one on that empty set and the touchdown. You know, those are the type of things that Coach Arthur Smith did, just moving guys around in an unorthodox way. And that's what you have to see more of because, I mean, let's face the fact that right now, you know, not having Julio Jones, and last week they didn't have A.J. Brown. I mean, they didn't have guys that could just go and whoop the man in front of them, you know, as a receiver. So that definitely has been a factor.
You know, just looking at the offensive line again, I know Mark kind of touched on it a little bit, but if you look at when the Jets were blitzing, they did a lot of delayed blitzes with their linebackers and sometimes with their safeties. Why don't you think that the Tennessee Titans offensive line are picking that blitz up? Is it communication or is it they don't see it? What do you think is going on in that situation?
Yeah, that's a great point, and I asked David Quesenberry about that after the game, and he said that there were some things that they didn't expect, like they didn't to the game like that was going to happen. And I tell you what, to his credit, you know, it's a little bit difficult to know that because of the way the Jets, you know, they blitzed a lot more, knowing that, you know, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones were going to be on the outside. Now all of a sudden you trust your guys a lot more on the outside, so you do all of that different kind of stuff. And I think that's really what it was, man. So it was a lot of not seeing that before, and I don't want to say getting surprised, but I mean that's basically what it was, you know, unsuspected.
Teron Davenport with us. He's hanging out in Jacksonville. Random question for you, TD, but what is the vibe been like in Jacksonville given the week that they had with all the Urban Meyer drama?
Oh, yeah, man. That place, you know how they have that meme where they got the dumpster and it's on fire? Yeah, that's what that place has been. I mean, just talking to you know, some of the people I know down here, man, it's a wreck to the point where, you know, they wouldn't be surprised if Urban Meyer quit today. They wouldn't be surprised if he got fired tonight. They wouldn't be surprised if he's still here at the end of the year. But it's just, it's a very, very toxic situation, what I've been told. Man, I would hate to have that type of workplace environment. It goes beyond just that foolishness, you know, that he had on last week, you know, with the personal issue staying behind while the team won, which I think in itself is just horse crap.
Either TD's talking to the same people I'm talking to or everybody's saying the same thing out of Jacksonville, because I've heard that exact same thing as far as it's concerned there. TD, what do you make of John Simon's addition to the roster, and not just the practice squad, but the full-fledged roster, and obviously Bud Dupree still working his way back?
Yeah, man, it meant that Sharif Finch, a guy who I really like, got released. You know, that's tough for him, but, hey, this is a situation. They are very limited outside linebackers, right? You got guys like Derek Roberson missing, you know, on IR. Bud Dupree with his situation, he was ruled out yesterday. So, you know, that's what the situation is, man. They need more depth. He's a guy that can kind of hit the ground running because he's spent camp here. So it's really plug and play, and I think that's why.
TD, what about the wide receiver depth? After A.J. Brown, who do you think gets the most targets today?
Well, with Nick Westbrook and Kenny not being active, I have to make sure. I got to text Rexroad or call him and make sure he's all right, man, because I know he's consolation. I would say Josh Reynolds, Marcus Johnson, you know, those guys who rotate, you know, at that other spot. I mean, Reynolds can play now. He can play. You saw last week he had, a couple drops there. you gotta make those catches. You know what I mean? If you want to really make the mark that you're trying to make, but he came through on third down. So I think he'll get a lot of targets.
The TD Comedy Tour coming to a city near you soon.
How interesting!
I had to catch myself.
TD, what's interesting about Jacksonville? You've got the whole, you know, Urban Meyer created storm, but then on the other hand, Jacksonville before that had been a team that had shown pretty steady improvement, you know, from the start of the season. It's interesting to see what happens when those two forces clash today.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I tell you what, if the Titans want to really, you know, make that mark and reestablish themselves as a team to be dealt with in the conference, They need to beat the brakes off of the Jaguars. I'm talking about beat the brakes like the Bills beat the Texans last week. That's the type of win. And, I mean, either way, you have two franchises that's going like the different opposite directions, man, because it's slow and steady, right? But it's steady for the Titans. And this one here, it's just rapidly going down like a plane in a bad situation, man.
TD, as always, we appreciate it. We'll look for your full breakdowns, and, of course, you'll be on tomorrow with Darren, Donick, and Chase, and all throughout the week, and, of course, the Talking with TD podcast. Appreciate you, TD. Have fun today.
TMC.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
Yep. The Teron Davenport Comedy Hour, presented by FreedomTireGuys.com, online at FreedomTireGuys.com.
That was funny.
I mean, I got to say, I can't get past the thing when TD said, you know, Josh Reynolds, if you go back to last week, and I was like, what?
He's like, well, no.
No, he caught himself on that one. That
was awesome.
So
man.
what TD was talking about, and I have a pretty good feeling. Now, TD knows more people than I do, no doubt. But I got a feeling that one of the people that TD's talked to in Jacksonville is the same person I've talked to in Jacksonville, who says that the workplace environment, which should come as zero surprise given Urban Meyer's history, the workplace environment apparently in the entire front office is just a nightmare. And that it's really not about what happened last week. It's been that way since Urban got there. And you heard TD talking about that a little bit too. And like I said, it may be the same person we're talking to. It may not be the same person. I don't know. But it is bad.
It's really, to me, on one hand, it's unbelievable, and on the other hand, I guess it's not. That Urban Meyer, was arrogant enough to believe that some of the crap that worked at Ohio State on college kids is going to work on NFL players.
That's a great
and
point.
Apparently,
great point.
And apparently, some of the players are just laughing at him, and that's just not good. When Jimmy Johnson was able to make that transition, and I know that was 30 years ago, but this is why college coaches don't often get hired by the NFL. Matt Rule figured it out. Matt Rule sort of understood, how you make the transition from the college game to the pro game. The thing that's funny about Urban Meyer is that he should have realized from the get-go, most players don't give a crap about what he did at Florida and Ohio State. They probably think it's nice and all that, but I remember when Steve Spurrier, went to the Redskins. And I asked Zach Piller, I said, you think he's going to do really well? He goes, I'm not speaking out of school here. And Zach was exactly right when he said he had all the best players at Florida. He said, of course he was going to win there. He said he's going to struggle because he doesn't have the best players. And when guys like Urban Meyer go up to the NFL, a lot of times they can't handle it. And it seems pretty evident that that's the case in Jacksonville.
Coming up on the other side, our picks to click. Who's going to click today for a Titans victory? Plus, how do we feel about the Titans coordinators? We'll discuss that, and we'll take a look at the sports books and make our game day our predictions. All coming up in the next half hour. It is the pregame show live from the Corner Pub in Bellevue. Mark Howard, Chris Sanders, Jared Stillman. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Coming up next hour on NFL Pregame, Jared, Chris, and Mark make their picks to click and final predictions for the upcoming game. We're inching closer to kickoff, and you're listening to NFL Pregame on Nashville's best sports talk,
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Are you a father that is passionate about your fundamental constitutional right to parent your own child or children? Has your parenting time or your income been affected by COVID? This is Amanda J. Gentry, and I am a fierce defender of your constitutional rights. The courts in Tennessee are under an obligation to maximize equal parenting time. We do not live in an every other weekend world anymore. At the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, fathers are extremely important, much like my own father was. Go to AmandaJGentry.com or call or text 615-604-6263. That's AmandaJGentry.com.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
This is the most down I have ever been on Ryan Tannehill. And it's not directly about yesterday's game. Because it'd be easy to say, well, he didn't throw any interceptions and he didn't fumble the ball, and so you can blame the line or you can blame his receivers or you can. He is a $30 million quarterback. They committed an extra year to him when they decided to trade for Julio Jones. That was their way of saying that next year they're not going to be interested in another quarterback. And next year after that, 2023, they're not going to be interested in another quarterback. Ryan Tannehill's their guy. And that was a commitment, that 23 commitment that I wasn't willing to make, remember? Mm-hmm. And they made it. And I watched yesterday. This is the Jets, people. You get in the red zone, you got to put that ball in the end zone. And you can make whatever excuse you want to make for Tannehill. Well, the line's not that good. It's the same line minus Jack Conklin that you got to the AFC Championship game with. It's the same line you went 11-5 and won the division with last year. It's the same line. So don't be blaming the line. Well, the receivers and... You know how many games Peyton Manning won because of Austin Collie and Pierre Garçon and Anthony Gonzalez, the congressman? How many games Tom Brady has won over the years with Riche Caldwell? How many times is David Patton, David Givens, Deion Branch, Christian Flourier? And yet Brady finds a way. I know Brady's got players now, but he found a way for a long time.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Nashville's best sports talk. Locally owned. Home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT FM Pegram. 97.5 Murfreesboro. WBUZ HD2 Laverne. Online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN.
102.5 The Game. This is NFL Pregame, and it's time for Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard to make their picks to click. Brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Picks to click every week are brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment on the pregame show live from the Corner Pub in Bellevue. So we start with Chris Sanders today. On Picks to Click. Josh Reynolds is Chris Sanders' offensive pick to click today.
Close.
Chris,
Yes,
who's
sir.
got to click on offense today for the Titans to win?
Just because I love you, man, I'm going to go with I'm going with A.J. Brown. The reason why I'm going with A.J. Brown, they need a guy to step up and make some plays. Last week against the Jets, there was no guy that stepped up and made the explosive play. So I think with A.J. Brown being in the lineup, I think it gives the Tennessee Titans the options to go downfield.
After what they had at wide receiver last week, does it not feel like we're kind of putting a lot of eggs in A.J. Brown's basket to go out there and like be the savior of the offense in the passing game? And is that fair given the fact that he's coming off of a hamstring pull and he had some issues with drops earlier in the season as well?
I don't think it's to be the savior. It's just that, the last couple of years he was our top guy. He was our explosive guy. And when he's out of the game, it just takes a little bit out of the air, a little bit of air out of the little balloon. It's still that they can't make plays because if you look at last week, I think it was Chester Rogers caught 6. You had Reynolds that caught like 5 or 6 passes, but there was no plays down the field. Now you have A.J. Brown, who's a guy who's capable of making a play and taking the top off the defense. That's kind of what I'm saying.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Derrick Henry because historically he just has big games against the Jags. He just seems to break off a couple of big runs. He'll have at least one highlight-worthy run today.
Ooh.
Give me a total.
185.
I 100% agree.
185. I guess I'll go with an offensive pick to click here for me, and I'm going to go with Michael Pruitt. I think they need some consistency at tight end, and I think that they need to score some touchdowns in the red zone, and they're going to try to get the ball to a tight end, and I think Pruitt's the best of the three, and I think that in the next 2 weeks he will be clearly the number 1 tight end of the Titans because they don't have any other choice. They can't keep running Swain back out there. He sucks.
Michael Pruitt.
At least 1 touchdown today from Pruitt, maybe 2.
If you say so.
Hey, as long as he gives it his all.
He lights it up today. You guys watch. We will run this tape back. Defensive pick to click. Chris Sanders, who you got?
Looking at Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he has 7 INTs, so I think one of the secondary guys can have maybe 1 or 2 picks. Last week I went overboard and said 3. But this week.
Bolton did get an interception, though, to your credit.
So I'm going to go with – I think I went with him 2 weeks ago. I'm going to go with Kevin Byard. The reason I'm going with Kevin Byard needs to step up. I mean, when he first got in the league, he had to prove himself. He proved himself by having 3 interceptions at Cleveland. He needs to have one of those games that he had in Cleveland and really confuse Trevor Lawrence and get a couple of picks.
By the way, I'm sorry to cut you off, Mark. I'm with you on Byard stepping up.
He's got to come on, man.
When you picked Byard as a pick to click, I'm like, when is the last time Byard has clicked?
That's what I'm saying.
For this defense. He hasn't clicked since Dean Pease left. And I don't know if it's a Bowen thing or if it's an everybody else around him stinks thing or if he's a regressed after he got his contract thing, but it's something.
I think it's number 2.
There's probably a lot of truth to that.
All right, I'm going to quote, Jared, one of your favorite shows from when you were a kid, The Wiggles.
The what?
I thought he was going to say like Cheers or Friends or
The Wiggles.
Remember The Wiggles?
I don't remember that. I remember Blue's Clues. What is Wiggles?
Wake up, Jeff. Jeffrey Simmons. I think he's going to have a big game. I think it's set up for success for him.
Wiggles.
Can I ask for a second, what the hell are the Wiggles?
I don't know
You
what
don't know the Wiggles
Never
are?
heard of that show.
Oh my God.
Say the Waltons or something.
They were a little kid group. And when they came to Nashville in concert, you looked at the first 2 rows of that concert.
The Wiggles.
It was like Jim Schwartz. I mean, just about every influential parent was a part of that concert.
Are you sure that's the right name?
There are very few times.
How old's your son?
Well, my son's 19 now.
Okay, so this was when he was
when he was little.
Okay, see, like,
and he was, he's special needs, so I was able to get him backstage. My son is I used that to get backstage at a Wiggles concert. I used my influence, whatever influence I had, whatever juice I had. It's the one time I used it.
Was for the Wiggles?
Was for the Wiggles concert. And then I looked and I saw that Schwartzy was there. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Just about the whole Titans staff who had little kids were there. That was as tough a ticket as a Titans or Predators playoff game.
Wiggles.
Be like saying,
you don't know who the Wiggles are?
I'm trying, Mark.
What did CJ watch when he was little?
Blue's Clues, Barney. I never heard of the Wiggles. I promise you.
This was Barney times 100.
I wonder if Floyd was trying to call a staff meeting and they were like, GM, we can't. The Wiggles. It's the Wiggles concert that night.
I'm telling you.
I'm going to have to look it up because maybe I'm just not familiar with it. I look on YouTube.
Defensively, I'm going to go. It's a tough spot. I'm going to go with Nico Autry. I think he's played pretty well so far this year. And I think that, honestly, he may be one of the best players in the defense.
Yep.
Like that he may be just, when you talk about all-around game, he does what he's supposed to do. He makes an impact. I think he'll make an impact today. And I would expect to see a sack or 2 out of him and Landry because I think those are the 2 guys that are really performing well on that front 7. And if they can just get one more guy, to Mark's point about Simmons, if they can just get one more guy to kind of do that with them, I think they're probably in good shape.
And I think they should because, I mean, I know you're going with – you said Autry, right?
Yep.
Because if you look at Simmons is getting the double teams, right? So the other guys are one-on-one, so somebody else has to step up and make the play. So, I agree with you 100%. I think Autry can have a big game, but somebody else needs to step up if Simmons is getting double teamed.
Those are our picks to click, brought to you every week by Parman Tractor and Equipment. What do we make of the coordinator situation with the Titans right now? Shane Bowen was an unpopular choice after Vrabel kind of threw him under the bus at the end of last season. And he's been defensive coordinator, and the defense for the first 3 weeks was 15th in the league. Then they got torched by Zach Wilson and Corey Davis last week, and everybody's back to kind of their original feelings about Shane Bowen. Todd Downing, and I think there's a lot of things going against Todd Downing, and you can make excuses one way or another. I don't think Downing has been perfect. I think Downing has had some missteps so far. But just the vitriol that I get from the callers and the texters and everything else surrounding Todd Downing, I'm a little surprised by. And then there's Ackerman, the special teams coach, and the Titans have been bad on special teams for 5 or 6 years in a row. So, what do we make of the coordinator situation? Mark, we'll start with you.
I think it's a non-issue. I think it's a fan issue. And I don't think the Titans care at all about what the Titans fans are saying about the coordinators, because the coaches know a lot more than we do. The coaches know a lot more of the whys and the wheres, and they'll make their own evaluation. Obviously the numbers are going to be the numbers, and let's wait a full season before we're ready to put somebody out to the unemployment line. I just don't see them making in-season changes. That just seems to go against everything Vrabel stands for since he assumed the role as head coach.
I don't think it's fair to compare Todd Downing to Arthur Smith, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the personnel is a little bit different. And when I say a little bit different, I think the tight end position gave him different formations that he can do to put guys in position to win. Because you look at, I think it was maybe 2 years ago when they were struggling on offense a little bit, and they put Jonnu Smith at running back. You can't do that with a Michael Pruitt because he doesn't have that versatility. So when you have a tight end can do those things, then it kind of limits you to just make sure you just put guys in their position as opposed to creating a position.
And Todd Downing's got a couple of headaches to fix. He's got to fix the protections.
Yep.
It's not his fault the Titans have screwed up, the right tackle position. That's to me, that's not his fault. But they've got to be better in the red zone, and that to me does fall on him. And we'll see if they get better today.
And I think the one thing that concerns me about Shane Bowen, because I think you guys alluded to it earlier, TD did. He said that I think it was Quisenberry wasn't expecting a delayed blitz. In my opinion, your coach should basically tell you that to cover every base of what you need to know. Mm-hmm. So if you know that you didn't know that a delayed blitz is coming, the coach is supposed to tell you, okay, in case they do this. Just like I coach wide receivers, even though we play a team that might not play press coverage, I'm going to cover the press coverage because I know that they may show that. So if they didn't get that in the offensive line, that relies on the coach to make sure he does that.
Titans DBs are playing off the receivers last week. Vrabel was asked a question about it on Monday, and Vrabel's response was essentially, that's not what we coached them to do. It was basically and that's kind of been an issue for a little bit. And I look at it like, okay, if you can't coach them to play press coverage and you're calling for it and they're not doing it, and you've changed the DBs like they've changed the DBs, then eventually I get a little worried that they might have to make a bigger change, if that makes any sense.
But we had that same situation last year when they were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Sure.
They were 7 to 8 yards off. But the reason why is because if you look at the first game that the Tennessee Titans played in, Jack Rabbit Jenkins gets torched off the first play of the game off the press. So I just think that these guys don't have the top end speed to stay with their receivers. So if they stay off and keep everything in front, they can come out to make the tackle. But when you're between 7 and 8 yards off, that means you don't trust your defensive backs.
You don't think, Mark, that
Mark's excited.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you think there's any chance if things get bad that they'll fire Bowen in the middle?
No.
And you seem pretty certain that Schwartz has no interest in being defensive coordinator.
I don't think that's what he signed up for. I'm sure if Vrabel asked him, he'd do it, but that's not what he's there for.
What is he there for?
He's there as another set of eyes. A guy who's been a head coach and been a really good coordinator in the league, and he's sort of an in-house consultant. Jimmy's sort of taken at least one sabbatical year. I don't know if he decides that he's retiring or whatever, but I don't think he came here to be defensive coordinator. I don't think that was his aim, and he is pretty much stayed in the background. So I don't believe that's a factor. I think you're way overreacting. To Bowen. I don't see what he's done as necessarily, a horrible job. He hasn't had a full hand, since the season started.
Well, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just saying he hasn't. They've had injuries all over the place, and I think they thought at this point Farley would be playing a little bit more, and I think that they feel like in a few weeks Dupree will. So I think that's when you start judging, Shane Bowen.
How do you guys judge defense? Do you judge it by total defense, yards allowed, or do you judge it by points allowed?
I just go with overall defense. That's just
that's yards.
Yards. Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, a defense that allows a lot of yards but doesn't allow points, they always say, is the bend but don't break defense.
That's how Kansas City is.
The Titans were 24th last year in points allowed on defense. They're 26th in points allowed.
Have they gotten better
on defense this year? I mean, I think they've gotten better, but it's hard to argue with that stat right now about all the points they're giving up.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of underlying stats.
Right. Sure, Ryan Tannehill's turned over the football inside his own 10-yard line twice already this year. That's 14 points. That's really not the defense's fault. But I don't see the excuses with Bowen. I mean, I thought that there needed to be a market improvement, and so far there hasn't. And I think it's early, but it's
really early.
What game is this, Mark?
Yogi would say, fifth, as Yogi Berra would say, the NFL, well, he would say in the NFL, but it gets early late. No, what is it? It gets late early. And you lose to the Jets and the Jags and your defense doesn't look good, it gets late early. Coming up next, we'll take a look at the sports books. How are they trending so far for the Titans and the Jags? Plus, we'll make our game day picks. That's next. We're live from the Corner Pub in Bellevue. It's the pregame show on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, this is DJ Super Save with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code FULL and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code FULL to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code FULL to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. That's code FULL.
Hey, Darren McFarland here. I want to talk to you about DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. They've got a Week 5 offer that every football fan should jump on. Listen to this. New customers can bet just $1 on any NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. The last 0-0 tie in the NFL was in 1943. So I would say this is a no-brainer. DraftKings customers can also get skin in the game with the new same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game from a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use that code 1025GAME and bet just $1 on any NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. That's a no-brainer. That code, again, you need to use, 1025GAME, this week at DraftKings Sportsbook. You must be 21 years of age or older. Tennessee only. Restrictions to apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Home of the Tennessee Titans, CMA Fest, sold-out stadium tours, Nissan Stadium has seen it all, or so we thought. February 26, 2022 will be the site of the first ever outdoor NHL game in Tennessee as the Nashville Predators host the defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. The 2022 Navy Federal Credit Union NHL Stadium Series game is coming to Smashville. You want in? Visit NashvillePredators.com/Stadium Series for more info.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Presented by FreedomTireGuys.com, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and Craneworks and Rental Works, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit Craneworks.com. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You're live at the Corner Pub out here in Bellevue. Titans and Jags coming your way at noon on CBS. Time to take a look at the sports books. The latest odds on today's game are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook, and my official sportsbook app. The Titans are, not surprisingly, the favorites to win today's game. The Titans are 4.5-point favorites against the spread. On the money line, they are -200. Jacksonville plus 168, and they are plus 4.5. Player passing yards, the over-under today, Trevor Lawrence, 246.5. Ryan Tannehill, 237.5. Mark Howard, how do we feel? Tannehill over-under 237.5.
Over. I think he's going to have a big day. I think the Titans put up 35 and win 35-20.
I'm going to tell you guys. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I'm agree with Mark. I say he's going to go over. I think he's going to throw over 300 yards. That's what I think he's going to do.
Really?
Because their secondary is not good whatsoever.
So here's what I feel like is the gimme money, and I'm surprised by this. You laughed. Here's why they give you money. Derrick Henry over under 115.5. Surely he's going over 115.5.
You
right?
would think. But
they know. Vegas knows.
They know. Believe me.
Now I'm worried that Derrick Henry's not going to run for 150 yards or whatever it is.
He's going for 190.
So you would easily put your money on over 115.
Absolutely.
Player receiving yards for the Titans, A.J. Brown 70.5 over under.
I say over. I think he's going to get close to 100.
It
depends
on
how
he
he
picks
feels.
over on the Titans every time.
Not every time. Every other time.
If you think Tannehill's going to throw for over 300, then
and Derrick's running for 190.
Yeah, then A.J. Brown's going to have a big day.
Huh?
Anthony Ferkser is second on the list at 21.5
yards.
Yes.
You picked who picked Ferkser in there?
I picked Pruitt.
Oh, you picked Pruitt.
I just picked Pruitt to score a touchdown.
Oh, he's gonna. I mean, I don't know. He might not even catch a ball.
Ferkser.
I don't know.
Player passing touchdowns 1.5 for Tannehill. Over under.
I'm going to say over.
I'm going to go over. I think he's going to throw two touchdowns, and they're going to A.J. Brown.
So 302 touchdowns for Tannehill, according to Chris Sanders?
Yep.
Okay. That's a look at the sports books. Again, a look at the sports books. The latest odds on today's game brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook app. Use promo code JGM, by the way, with the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Time now to make our final predictions on today's game. Who wins and why? It should be just stated for the record that one of us picked the Jets last Sunday.
Oh, my God.
I picked the Jets to cover. I just didn't pick them to win.
That's not how we do this. One of us picked the Jets. It was me. And I think honestly that it was kind of like fearing for the worst pick, and then the worst happened. But it is time now to make our official.
By the way, the Jets are only down by 3, and they're driving.
Yep, exactly.
It's a great coach team right there by the Jets, Robert Saleh. I guess the freaking Jets. Our final game picks are brought to you every week by Social Furniture, located at 5412 Charlotte Avenue in West Nashville. Shop local. Shop social. Chris Sanders,
Yes,
who wins today? What's the final score and why?
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans 35, the Jags 10. And the reason why I say it's going to be that big of a score is because so many things are going on with the Jacksonville Jaguars, so many distractions, and the game is not focused on playing football. So I think if the Tennessee Titans go in there, establish the run, throw the ball to A.J. Brown, and maybe throw it to Ferkser once or twice, I think the Tennessee Titans will blow them out 35-10.
It should be noted, Mark Howard, that Chris picked last week 35-10.
Did I do that?
Yes, you did.
Well, let's go. Let's do it again. 35-10 Titans.
I said 35-20. They will put the squeeze on Urban Meyer.
You think Urban this time next week is Urban the coach of the Jags?
Yeah, I think unless he resigns, they're not going to fire him because it would cost them a fortune.
Mm-hmm. Even if they did it for cause with all the.
But that's not football related,
but
is it?
If you've been reading a lot of the coverage, they'll never get him for squeezing a girl's butt in a bar is not cause for termination.
There's probably a lot of truth to that.
It's a bad look, but.
I am going to take the Titans, and I am going to take the Titans big. I'll go 38-10. I'm on Chris Sanders' train. I feel like this. Like, I don't think the Titans are a bad team. They may not be as good as I had hoped going into the season. I don't think they're a bad team. they lose this game or this game's close, they're a bad team. I think they're going to show us they're not a bad team today.
In the words,
what did you say?
In the words of the late great Jim Bouton in the best book ever written, Ball 4, I didn't think we were a bad team, but they're making a believer out of me.
That's exactly it. If they lose today, they won't. They'll get it taken care of. That's it for us. We're out of here.
gosh.
We are back next week on Monday for a little Monday Night Football before the Buffalo game. Thanks to the Corner Pub here in Bellevue. For Chris, for Mark, Jared, we'll see you at ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The voice of reason.
I don't know how you could watch that performance and think that there was anything positive about it.
The voice of the fan.
The performance was a D-.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Family Leisure invites you to relax at home this fall with all our indoor products on sale now.
Family Leisure has theater seating, massage chairs, pool tables, shuffleboard tables, and game tables in stock and ready for immediate delivery.
Enjoy the movie theater experience in the safety and comfort of your own home with theater seating from Family Leisure. 3-piece sets start at only $9.99. Massage chairs are only $14.99 as well.
Well, I want to redo our game room with a pool table for me and an air hockey and foosball table for the kids, maybe even a ping pong table.
Family Leisure has 30 pool tables on display, hundreds in stock for immediate delivery. Pool tables start at $14.99 installed.
And don't forget the shuffleboard tables, a game everyone can play.
Family Leisure has above ground pools in stock and ready for immediate installation.
And there's great sale prices on outdoor and wicker furniture. Huge selection still in stock. That's Family Leisure's Relax at Home sale.
At both huge locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Treating erectile dysfunction with acoustic wave therapy has been getting a lot of attention lately. But you should know that some are promising results we just haven't seen and charging a lot of money for the treatments as well. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. And if you're looking at acoustic wave therapy or protocols, do use